Focus brought a whole team to the table, and we used it. I met Focus at first really through ConnectWise and IT Nation. It was probably a year before we decided to go to market that I was at an event, and Abe was speaking at that event. And it was clear to me in listening to him when I was sitting in the audience, this guy knows his stuff. Like, he knows the market and he knows what is going on in this market. When somebody's truly an expert, you can tell right away. It jumps out. And so when I was listening to Abe, I was like, this guy knows his stuff. And so I stayed after a session and just caught his attention and said, hey, I just felt compelled to introduce myself, even though I was not looking to sell the company. And so we just had a nice conversation, and Abe, in traditional Abe style, he's very much like a go-giver, right? And so he kept in contact, and he would fly out to see me just to start to build that relationship and educate me on what was going on in the market. And that education that he gave me for nothing, we didn't have anything in place. There was no deal. I wasn't planning on going to market, but he educated me on what was going on in the market, and not theoretical, like what he's seeing, what's happening, what are buyers and sellers doing. That really increased my confidence level on going to market. There's a big difference between M&A advisors, and there's quite a few of them out there, and true investment bankers who are market makers. And Abe is a market maker. A lot of the M&A advisors, they're not what I would call a market maker, and they are, they've got certain relationships where they always kind of funnel deals to, right, to get the company sold, but they're not truly out there making a market. And I would definitely say one of the things that Focus as a whole did for me was they truly made a market, which I think you can see in the volume of NDAs and the amount of interest that we had in the company. The other really important things for me was that Focus brought a whole team to the table, and we used it. I mean, the amount of, a seller shouldn't underestimate the amount of work that has to get done before, just the filtration process of potential buyers. Focus was handling all of that, and they were only bringing me in when they felt they kind of put them through, they passed the first few gates. And, it wasn't just Abe, it was Stan, it was Annie. Annie did a ton of work keeping things organized and working hard. Eric busted his hump on all the, negotiating and working through the details on purchase agreements and things like that. Owen was on, calls for us and working hard. And Sean was a rock star too. So you really had people covering everything from market making, on the front end, to strategy, to, the actual deal work, to the finance and Q of E and all that kind of stuff, versus other firms, I think, where you might have, one or two people. Like, how can they be experts in, all those areas? And we needed that bandwidth. And so that was, something that I think was absolutely worth it in selecting Focus.